22nd, 2017.
And this is Nerd Bourbon episode 16. I am known hipster Seth Sturgill, here to talk to you about single origin coffees and organic beard oils.
I hate you. And I'm Todd Sturgill.
Hello, Todd. Todd, let's get high energy together, man. Let's amp each other up, dude. We're here to deliver a quality podcasting experience, and I don't think your fucking head's in the game.
I will be. Wait up. I hope that picks up.
Just fucking stab yourself. Remind yourself that you're alive, boy.
I honestly hope that picks up. I slap the shit out of myself. All right, let's do this, man.
I probably will. All right. So, we're here. We're fucking energized. We're ready to deliver this podcast. Let's start. I want to start by talking about what we've been up to. Todd and I have both been playing Destiny 2, but we'll get to that after I talk about Metroid Samus Returns for Nintendo 3DS, which just came out last week. And man, that is a really fucking good video game. Do you know really anything? Have you ever played any of the Metroid games? Are you into Metroid at all?
Shit, the last time I played a Metroid game was... It's been years, I'll say that.
Really? Probably like Metroid Prime or something like that.
Some shit.
Yeah. It's, I think that's a lot of people. It's almost like Zelda. Like most people are into the 3D Metroid versus the 2D Metroid. This is a 2D Metroid game. Very much in line with like the older style Metroids. In fact, it's a sort of remake of Metroid 2, which is hilarious because if you remember, you probably at least saw this headline like last year or maybe earlier this year. I can't remember, but there's a fan-made remake of Metroid 2 called AM2R, another Metroid 2 remake. And Nintendo basically immediately put the fucking kibosh on it. And part of me is like, was it like a copyright thing, or was it because they were secretly working on this? Because they basically stealth announced this at E3 last year, and it wasn't even in like their main conference. It was just during like their Treehouse stream after the conference. They're like, oh, by the way, there's a brand new 2D Metroid coming out for 3DS. Just, here you go. And it's like, honestly, it's probably going to wind up on my top 10 this year. It's really, really solid. Like, I wish it were on Switch. Because I'm just kind of like, I got to play my 3DS again, Because, the 3DS is kind of like, it's getting a little long in the tooth, It's like, I think it came out in like 2011 or 2012, so it's getting a little like old, and I'm just kind of, I'm ready to just like move on whole hog to Switch, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why didn't you guys just put this out on Switch, and you could have charged $60 for it as a full Switch game. But anyway, it's a 2D Metroid in very traditional style. It has some interesting design things that I want to talk about. It isn't a beat for beat remake, but it is kind of a retelling of 2's story. Makes really, really good use of the 3DS's 3D feature. Like, I know most people play their games with the 2D, and I kind of do too. I normally leave my 3DS slider off, but this game is actually really good in 3D. If you wind up playing it, I highly recommend turning the 3D slider all the way up. It's really good. Just the backgrounds are really, really pretty, and they look great in 3D. And no, it adds some cool like design things. Like you can now aim in full 360, which is a first for a 2D Metroid game. Mm-hmm. They added this kind of like counter attack where enemies will kind of dart at Samus, and she'll like do this kind of punch and do a really powerful like kind of counter move, and it's like, you would think that it kind of breaks the game, and in some ways it does, but it does take some skill to kind of master the timing of it.
Okay.
And it adds kind of a depth to the game's like moment-to-moment enemy encounters that I really enjoy. Like, normally in a Metroid game, you just kind of work your way through and shoot shit, and this kind of adds a little bit of like, do I want to go for the counter because I'm going to take damage if I miss it, and the timing's kind of hard. And then there's that learning curve of getting it down to where like, now I've gotten so good, I'm probably 4 or 5 hours into the game, and now I've gotten so good at the counter that I can just kind of like casually slap these motherfuckers whenever they kind of dart at me. Like it has these boss fights against these Metroids that the game's actually pretty challenging. I've died like several times, and like it's kind of like unforgiving with some of its checkpoints and stuff like that. So it's sort of, in other words, kind of long story short about this, it is a really good sort of retelling of the Metroid 2 story with some really good like modern design sensibilities that they kind of packaged into this really nice, beautiful, kind of solid 3DS game. And I really am just happy that it exists. Like, it's been so long since we've had a good Metroid. Like, they just announced Metroid Prime 4, which is probably years away at this point, but it's really nice to have a really good, solid 2D Metroid game, and my only major complaint is that I wish it was on the Switch. You know? So it's really good. Pick it up. But Todd, the meat of this segment is going to be the main game that you and I have been playing. I think the only game you've been playing, and basically the only game I've been playing with you, is Destiny 2.
Yeah.
We've been going in on some Destiny 2.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. It's shit. I love the game. It's fantastic.
Like, it's really, really good. Yeah, we're both light level 271. We have now beaten the story, kind of finished the main campaign. How did you feel about that? Because we should update the people, because we hadn't even like really touched the story at all the last time we talked about Destiny 2.
I think it's a solid story for, like, you know, just like compared to like vanilla Destiny. Like, vanilla Destiny 2 has a much better campaign.
Because like vanilla Destiny's campaign is fucking rough, man. Like,
yeah.
It's the, like, all of the story in Destiny 1 is just hidden behind the Grimoire cards. And, like, the Grimoire cards are great, but it's like, man, like, I don't want to go on Bungie.net to get the story of this game. Just give it to me in the game. And Destiny 2 remedies that. Destiny 2 has a really solid story. And I was telling you this when we were playing it, like, playing the main campaign missions. It reminds me a lot of Halo 2. In a lot of ways. Yeah,
because it like does like it changes like the viewpoints. You're gonna like see what's going on in the Red Legion's perspective of bullshit for like during a cutscene.
Yeah, like it switches up between like the main perspective of the, you know, of the kind of main character and the Vanguard and all that, and then every now and then you get the perspective of Gaul and the Red Legion and his kind of like army and shit like that. And Gaul is a really interesting villain. Mm-hmm. He's like a really good antagonist. I was really impressed by the way they handled his character with very limited. I mean, all told, Gaul probably has like 10 minutes maybe of cutscenes. Like, he's not in the game that much.
That sounds all right, but even just with that 10 minutes, like, you're kind of like, yeah, this guy's pretty legit, honestly.
They've given him like some real texture. I really like the kind of like, you know, like he was a runt, you know, and he was left for dead basically in the tradition of the Cabal, because he was seen as weak, and he was brought up by this guy with a thirst for revenge, and sort of like made strong, and he believes that the Traveler has chosen him and shit like that. He's a really cool character with more depth than I thought he was gonna have.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And by the end of it, I was kind of like, damn. You know, and yeah, I guess minor spoilers, but I really like the way that one thing that really pissed me off with the Taken King was a great expansion for Destiny 1, but one thing that pissed me off is at the end of it, you take down Oryx, but not really. You kill him, or you quote unquote kill him, and then like, but no, you have to go to do King's Fall to really kill him. You know,
it's a little, yeah.
What's cool about Destiny 2 is you get a complete story, and you do take down Gaul at the end of Destiny 2. It's no frills. It's no bullshit. You actually do like take down the antagonist, and like, you know, the kind of raid does branch off of the main story, but it is not. You're not missing out on anything if you don't play the raid. In other words, like, you aren't gonna miss out on like the satisfaction of beating the game's antagonist like you did with the Taken King.
Yeah.
But man, like, and it's really kind of crazy the way that the game like opens up after you beat the campaign, like,
holy shit.
Because they wall off things like patrols and strikes and stuff like that until after you beat the game, which is smart because there's already enough. Like, even if they didn't have strikes and stuff like that, like, I almost forgot that strikes were even in the game. Because, like, we were doing so much other shit, I'm just like, oh, right, there's, like, strikes.
Yeah, like, well, from what I've been hearing is, like, strikes are really not even worth doing.
Not really. It's a weird design thing because, like, the way that loot is handled in Destiny 2 is both a huge improvement from Destiny 1 and also a little bit of a step back, because like it's such a pain in the ass for you and I to level up right now in terms of our light level. Like, once you hit that 265, 270 mark, it slows to such a crawl because the loot is almost tiered. Like, I get legendary engrams just dropping in the world all the time, and
those are 265.
Exactly. Like it's supposed to be like an exciting, like, oh shit, a legendary engram. But like they're 265, which does absolutely nothing for me but get me legendary shards, which is cool, I guess, but I'm just like, it would be nice if like the random drops in the world were still leveling me up. You know what I mean? And they did the quality of life change of like, you no longer have to equip the highest light level gear. It basically rolls your drops based on your highest potential light level.
Yeah.
The game has a lot of like kind of checks and balances like that. On one hand, it's great that they've made all these quality of life improvements. On the other hand, it's like, fuck, like why didn't you do this too? And I think just like Destiny 1 did, I think the game's going to change significantly throughout the course of its life.
No, yeah, definitely. I think I said this to you when we were playing it recently. It's just like, I wonder how this game's gonna end up.
Yeah, like by this time next year, what is Destiny 2 gonna be like? You know what I mean? Like it starts off on a way better foot than Destiny 1 did, though, which is what I said about it last week. But it's a really good game already. I'm just looking forward to them really ironing out the kinks, because the kinks are so small. It's just tiny little dumb bullshit that needs to get fixed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it would really be kind of a perfect experience. You and I will probably, maybe on the next episode, we might have done the raid by then. So maybe we'll kind of update with the raid next week. Because you and I we're raid ready now, but I want to be higher light level before we tackle it.
Yeah, I want to try to get as high as possible.
Yeah, I'd like to be in like the high 270s, low 280s. In terms of topics this week, I actually kind of want to go first.
Yeah, go ahead, my man.
Because I don't know, I feel like it gets a little. I feel like we always kind of do like the you first then me kind of thing. I was like, let's switch it up. Let's switch it up for the fine folks. I think you probably have a better topic than I do this week. Mine's gonna be a quick one.
Let's do it.
Wanted to get a quick one out there. So I was gonna do this on the day. October 13th, 2017 is going to be my kind of 10-year anniversary of working in retail. And it has been a long and winding road. But I've kind of gathered a lot of stories. I started in retail October 13th, 2007, working at GameStop, which I think I've mentioned before on this podcast. And 10 years later, here I am, still sort of working in retail, obviously at a different store, but I've just sort of gathered a lot of stories, and I just kind of wanted to talk about like what retail is and what it means to me, and kind of the pros and cons of retail for people who are looking to work at a retail job. And it really, working in retail is kind of a love-hate relationship for me, because on one hand, working in retail fucking sucks. Like, it can be the most demoralizing job, up there with like being a busboy, which I've done, being a busboy at like a restaurant. Like you feel like you're just at the mercy of your customers and shit like that. At least, there's some days where you're just kind of like, fuck, it's like that customer's always right thing. You just got to like smile and deal with these assholes. And then there's like the actual kind of like, once you get into management, there's a whole extra layer of bullshit. And then there's like the maintenance of your retail location. That all sucks, right? But then on the flip side of that, working in retail really did improve my personality so much. Like, when I started, I was like a 17-year-old kid starting at GameStop, and I was like so shy. Like, 10 years ago, this podcast would not have been possible. Period. Like, I would not have been able to get up on a mic and speak like I speak now. I'm not trying to say like, oh, I'm some great professional speaker or anything like that, but I was like so much more shy.
Oh yeah.
Back then. And it really sort of let me get out of my shell with the help of like my coworkers back then, and it really had like kind of a family kind of feel to it. And it really kind of got me to be more of a people person, even though at the end of the day, I still dislike most people. I'm so much more personable now than I was back then. Like, my fiance always says, we go to Walmart, and I've worked in retail for 10 years in this town that I still live in for 10 years. And like, so when I go to Walmart with her or something like that, I get stopped like 8 or 9 times because I know everybody. You know what I mean? Like, over the course of the past 10 years, I've probably literally seen the faces of like everybody that lives in this fucking town. I've worked at 2 very, very popular retail stores. I probably currently work in like, second to Walmart, I probably work in the busiest retail location in the city. So I've probably seen 99% of the people that live in my city. So I get stopped a lot. And Anastasia, my fiance always says man, like, you're so like likable. You know what I mean? You're so easy to talk to. And, I was not always like that. You know what I mean? Like, retail really kind of made me a more talkative, personable person. And even though retail is bullshit, it's kind of worth it. I almost feel like a lot of people have the mentality of like, oh, everybody should work in customer service at least once in their life. And I halfway agree with that, because working in customer service really gives you a humbling kind of perspective of what it's like to deal with people face to face every day. And it also just sort of makes you less of a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Like, it just makes you less of an entitled asshole when you are serving people every day. You know what I mean? Like, you learn manners, you learn humility, you learn what it's like to actually look a person in the eye. Because back when I first started, I had a hard time, literally, just from a lifetime of anxiety. I had a hard time looking at a person literally in the eye, like, and talking to them.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, but like, I would always like look at the floor or look up at the ceiling or something like that. I couldn't just look at a person straight up and just talk to them. And now I can, and I have retail to thank for that. Even though retail sucks, like, it really did improve me as a person, and it's an essential piece of my life. And that said, I have garnered quite a few stories, and I don't know, you might have heard some of these. I just want to talk about some of my favorites.
Right.
You may have heard some of these. You may not have heard some of these. Have I ever told you about the kid that came into GameStop with his PSP? Have I ever told you this story?
Possibly.
So I was working with my third key at the time. We were closing the store. It was maybe, optimistically, maybe half an hour before we were going to close. And we were kind of winding down for the night. We're kind of cleaning up and putting cases on the wall and stuff like that, and just kind of getting stuff ready to close. And this kid walks in. He couldn't have been older than 10 or 11. I mean, he was just this short, I think, blonde or redheaded kid, and he just like kind of chubby. He just looked like he just came straight off of the fucking Sandlot. You know what I mean? Like, just a very typical young boy. And anyway, he comes in and he's got like a PSP and a bunch of games or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, I want to trade these in." And I'm like, "Do you got a parent with you? Because we couldn't, and GameStop's still like this for obvious reasons. You can't, an 11-year-old kid can't just come in and sell us shit. Like, you have to have a parent or guardian with an ID. You know what I mean? Because they could be stolen." And and I could tell you this story afterwards. One time they were stolen. And anyway, he's like, "Yeah, my grandpa's out in the car, but I'd like to know what I'm going to get first or whatever." And I said, "Okay, I can do that. I don't want to make your grandpa get out of the car or whatever, and maybe you guys don't want to trade it in or whatever." So I go to look at his PSP, and this thing is fucking ravaged. Like, this thing, like, I think how the PSP had that kind of like door on the back of it where you put in the UMDs?
Yeah.
And it was on like a hinge. The hinges were like broken. It was just kind of like hanging there. And the PSP at this time, it was already kind of like dead, Like, I think took it for like $30 or $40 in trade, if that. And I explained to him, I was like, "Hey man, like, right off the bat, if I take this PSP, I'm going to have to add a refurbishing fee to it, which essentially knocks like $10 or $15 off the price so that we can send it off to our warehouse and get it refurbished, and then they send it back and we resell it." And he's like, "That's fine. How much would that be?" or whatever. And I was like, "Honestly, dude, like, if I put the refurb on this, you're going to get like $20 for this PSP or, whatever the price was." And he looks at me. Keep in mind, this kid is like, he might be in the single digits. I mean, he's young. And he goes, God, you guys are a bunch of fucking crooks. You know that? And I was like, he goes, how do you guys sleep at night offering this shit? How do you guys sleep at night doing this shit? And I'm just flabbergasted, dude. Like, I'm like, my jaw is dropped. I'm like, I've never heard a kid his age talk. And I'm looking around. I'm literally looking around for the camera and like Ashton Kutcher to walk in and tell me I'm being punked. I'm like, whoa, dude. Like, hang on, what? You know? And I'm like, and after I sort of collected myself, I was like, dude, I don't have to take this in for trade. I could deny you this right now, and I'll send you on your way, and your grandpa can drive your fat ass back home. I didn't say that, but
I'm gonna say if you said that, I've been like, oof.
that's like the vibe I was putting off to him or whatever. I was like, I'll deny this sale right now, dude, and I'll send you on your way, and I'll close the store, and I can go home and sleep. Anyway, and he's like, no, I'll take it, blah blah blah. Let me go get my grandpa. And he gets his grandpa, and his grandpa is just this, like, fossil of a man. Like, he is hanging on by a thread, dude. Like, he is, like, skin and bones. He's got one of those walkers, and he's just kind of slowly coming. I'm like, oh, my God, this kid made his grandpa drive him up here and fucking, just for, like, a $10 shitty PSP. This kid's about to get, like, 10 or 15 bucks, and, like, his grandpa to get out of the car and everything like that. And at that point, I was like, fuck, I guess I'm going to take this sale because I don't want this grandpa to have wasted his time.
Yeah.
And his grandpa comes up, and I take his information and everything. And the grandpa's like, well, how much is he getting? And then the kid looks at me, he's like, go on, tell him. Tell him how much I'm getting. Tell him how much you're giving me for this. And I'm like, okay, if I make the sale, I'm going to give him probably $10 or $15 for this. I want you to know, though, sir, he's been in here kind of being irate and belligerent, and he's been swearing and stuff like that. And the grandpa's just kind of like, oh, yeah, I can't control this kid. He's such a bad kid, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm not going to lie to you, sir. Like, if it weren't for you being here right now, like, I was totally ready to just deny the sale, and just kind of send him on his way. And I was like, but I don't want to waste your time or whatever. So if you guys want this, we can go ahead and finalize it, and I'll, you guys can go on your way or whatever. And the guy, long story short, the guy goes on to tell me that his like daughter's in the ICU and they need the money for gas and this, that, and the other. But the whole time, this kid's just like angry and like swearing like under his breath. It's like, these motherfuckers, and give me like $10, $15 for my PSP is fucking bullshit, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm like, dude, where does this kid even get this, And anyway, so I cashed them out and whatever, and I sent them on their way. But I was just like, afterwards, my third key and I just kind of looked at each other and just like laughed. And like, we still, every now and then, like I'll talk to him on Facebook and I'll be like, do you remember that fucking kid with that PSP? And it's one of those things, like neither of us are ever going to forget that. But the stolen game story that I alluded to earlier, this lady came in and she sold us just this stack of games, very typical transaction, and I didn't really think anything of it. Well, maybe a couple hours later, this other woman called up at the store and said, "Oh, my fucking sister stole my son's games and sold it to y'all, and y'all just took it, blah blah blah." And I told her, I was like, well, we have no way of knowing that the games have been stolen. You know what I mean? Like, so what am I gonna do? Y'all gonna give me my son's games back and this, that, and the other? And I was like, ma'am, like, you can file a police report and we can work with the police, and if they want to review DVR with us and file a case, we can figure out exactly which games, were traded to us, and we can help you out then. But you need to file a police report. I can't just do this kind of off the book, you know what I mean? And I didn't really expect her to go through with it, because it was like a stack of games, but it wasn't like anything. It wasn't anything major. Like, it was all pretty like cheap games that would have been easy to replace. But she went through with it. She filed a police report, and I had to work with the police and find out exactly what they were. We returned the product. We were reimbursed for it, but we returned the product to her. And I actually had to go to court like 4 times because,
Damn, really?
Yeah, because she pressed charges against the sister or whatever that stole the games from her son.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go to court like several times, and over the course of like 2 years, like every like 6 months or so, I would just get like a court summons to show up for this case, to witness for the case. And it was whatever, because I was getting paid for it, but like I would just be sitting in the courtroom all day just waiting, just waiting for my name to be called as a witness or whatever, and like nothing ever came of it because the woman would never show up to the court date. And I think they eventually just dropped it, but like I just like like I said, every 6 months or so, I would have to go to court for this fucking just random lady. It was so weird, but and I have a million stories from GameStop. Circle K, which is where I'm working right now, I work there as an assistant manager. I've got a bunch of stories from there too, but I just kind of wanted to like briefly give you guys a taste of what it's like to work in retail, and tell you, if you're working in retail right now, it sucks, and I know it sucks, but at the end of the day, it is worth it. And in a weird way, you come out with a lot of good stories, and you deal with a lot of bullshit, but in a weird way, it's kind of worth it. And I almost wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I want this to be my last retail job. After I leave Circle K, where I'm at right now, like, I'm not going to work in retail anymore. This is going to be my last sort of retail job. But with over a decade of retail experience, it is kind of the most valuable thing that kind of happened to me in terms of making me the person I am. Like, it's weird to say that your job sort of defined you, but it really kind of did help me not be an awkward asshole. And I don't want to imagine the person that I would be without retail and without situations like stolen games. And God, I've gotten thieves arrested at GameStop. The amount of shit that's happened at Circle K, like I've had people doing coke in the fucking bathroom at Circle K, and like people fucking in the bathroom.
That's some real shit right there.
Oh my God. This one time I was sweeping the floor at our old location, and I saw on the carpet in front of the door what looked like a shirt tag, and I just swept it up, not really thinking about it. And when I swept it, it was not a shirt tag. It was a little baggie with white powder in it.
Oh yes.
And I was like, God damn it, dude! And I threw it away immediately or whatever. I didn't want to like pick it up and get like my fingerprints on it, But we've had so much shit, dude. We had people kept stealing our air hose on our air pump for a long time. Like every 2 weeks or so, the fucking hose would just go missing. And come to find out, we were told by these police officers later that there is a meth lab like a few blocks away. Like people had a little meth lab, and they were using the tubing for meth, like to make meth apparently.
Okay.
They needed the tubing for like their meth lab, and they kept ruining it, I guess. And so they would just come and steal our tubing every week. And so anyway,
I think I told you the story is one time my buddy, it was at my old store.
Mm.
He walked into the bathroom, and one of our coworkers was just in there doing a line.
Jesus.
And he looks over and he's like, "You want a bump, bro?" I honestly, I still say that shit because it just amuses me.
You want a bump?
You want a bump, bro?
It's just the shit that you see working in retail though is like it's on another level. Like, and it's weird because you sort of like you get a unique perspective on like sort of the disgustingness of humanity.
That's some real shit, yeah.
Like, the best and worst parts of humanity come to the fore when you work in retail. And like I was alluding to earlier, if you're working in retail, just to sort of wrap this up really quickly, it's just a brief topic of something I wanted to talk about, because I am feeling a little bit weirdly emotional about coming up on a decade in retail. And I was going to do this on October 13th, like literally on the 10-year anniversary date. But I kind of felt like it'd be better if we did like a horror topic on Friday the 13th. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So, but anyway, if you're working in retail right now, it's worth it. You should obviously just get the experience of customer service and sort of weigh the good with the bad and sort of use it as a way to better yourself. If you feel like you're stuck in retail, just kind of power through it. You're going to find something better. But for now, just kind of acknowledge that it's made you a better person in at least some way.
Mm-hmm.
And
I definitely agree with that, because working my job has made me much more of a sociable person.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it just, I was so awkward before I started working in retail. But anyway, what's your topic this week, sir?
Before we get on to my topic, I want an update on book club.
An update on book club.
Where are you on your book?
So, I'm very, very early on into this book. I actually bought it on my Kindle. I have it physically, and I was going to read it on the airplane to Orlando. But on the way there, I got the aisle seat. So I'm sitting there trying to read it, and just every 2 seconds, somebody's fucking bumping into me, you know? And I got to, like, maybe, like, chapter 3 or 4 or something like that, and I'm like, nope, I'm good. I'm not going to read this on the plane. And then, like, on the flight home, you know, I was miserable and sick, and I talked about that on the last episode. The flight home was terrible. Reading was not an option there. I've read it a little bit more since, but I'm going to finish it within the next week so that we can record book club, and that's where I'm at with Masters of Doom. It's been slow going, but...
So this topic is a conversation that me and Seth started about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we had this conversation, and I think you just kind of stopped and you're like, you know what, fuck it, this is my topic next week. Whatever.
Because hey, we're like, you are getting like really in depth. I'm like, fuck this shit. Like, no, this is good content.
I'm an in-depth man, Todd. If I were to be a porn star, Todd, my name would be Johnny Depth.
I think that shit. I feel like that's actually a porn star.
I think it is.
But so the actual title of this is "What Makes a Sandwich a Sandwich?"
Yeah.
And we got really in depth with this shit. Like, where do we draw the line on what actually makes a sandwich?
I'll tell you what spearheaded this. I don't know if you remember. What spearheaded this was Portillo's. I follow Portillo's on Facebook and Twitter and everything. And Portillo's, the restaurant, if you don't know, Portillo's is a huge restaurant chain in Chicago that is primarily known for their very good hot dogs. And, you know, Todd, Chicagoan, is going to pipe in and be like, oh, Portillo's fucking overrated. But fuck you.
Portillo's is good. It's just I could find a better hot dog at a hole in the wall.
Of course. If you're really going to ask me what a better hot dog, you know, Super Dog is better than Portillo's. But, like...
You been to Super Dog?
Yeah. We've been to Super Dog several times.
Super Dog's good shit.
Super Dog is technically, I would say, better than Portillo's. But... the thing about Portillo's is consistency, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. Portillo's is consistently great, and everything on the Portillo's menu is great. From the fucking salad, to the hot dogs, to the burgers, to the ribs, everything at Portillo's is great, and that's what's important.
You know, before we move on, I will say this. That chopped salad is next level.
It's on point. Everything there is on point. The fucking cake, like, everything is good at Portillo's, and that's what I love about Portillo's. Not that it's the best hot dog I've ever had. It's not. But it's consistently great. Anyway, that's off track. The restaurant Portillo's posted on Facebook, they were offering like a coupon for like National Sandwich Day. Holy shit. There's like every day is some kind of weird, it's National fucking Baby Food Day. Let's eat some baby food today and love your babies today because it's National Baby Food or whatever, you know? Like every day is a national something day. But anyway, it was supposedly National Sandwich Day, and Portillo's low-key said in their post, yes, a hot dog is included as a sandwich. And that got me thinking, what does make a sandwich a sandwich? Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah.
Do you think
That's
so?
Where I honestly, I do think so.
So you consider a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah.
First of all, before we get too deep into this, how do you define a sandwich?
I feel like you gotta, all right. If you have bread, you don't have to have a meat, but you got some meat in that bitch, you got some condiments, I feel like it's a sandwich.
So here's the thing, though. If you want to go as far as to say that a hot dog is a sandwich, do you consider like a Polish a sandwich?
If I say a hot dog is a sandwich, I'm kind of obligated to say a Polish is a sandwich.
Exactly, but I don't feel like it is. Like, I feel like a sausage roll or a sausage sandwich is like a completely different thing. You know what I mean? And then like
you just call it a sausage sandwich, but
that's what I'm saying. It's like, but it's a different sort of like, it's a different beast. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like when I think of a sandwich, I think of like either a PB&J or like a sandwich I make at home, or even an Italian beef falls into that kind of sandwich category. Yeah. But like when I don't think of a fucking hot dog, like a hot dog or an Italian sausage, like that's different to me. You know what I mean? Like that should be its own kind of thing. And then at the same time,
I mean a lot of people kind of see it like that, anyways, because we don't call it like a sandwich. It's a hot dog or a Polish.
I don't call it a hot dog sandwich. I call or a Polish sandwich. Fucking is a burger a sandwich? You know what I mean?
On a technicality, maybe.
On a technicality, yeah. You know what I mean? And then like if your raw definition is like, oh, it's meat between two pieces of bread. Well, no, because there's a PB&J or like a peanut butter and marshmallow sandwich or whatever. That's still a sandwich. And it's just, sandwiches are fucking weird. Like, sandwiches as a food are like too diverse.
Mm-hmm. It's too versatile, honestly.
I don't know. Like, and then like, like there's all kinds of shit you could do. When I was a kid, I used to do this really disgusting thing where I would literally take, oh, you ready for this shit?
I'll continue on with the most disgusting thing I've ever done in my life.
I would take mayonnaise. I would just douse 2 slices of bread with mayonnaise, salt, pepper, and then I would take some Lay's and put Lay's on it and just eat it.
I hate you.
Like, it would just be a mayonnaise, salt, pepper, and Lay's potato chip sandwich. And you know what? It was pretty fucking good.
All right, let me tell you about this story. So, what is it? This is a couple years back. This is yeah, so we were there's a place around my house called Barbecue Patio, and it's where I get my really good gyro plate.
Okay, at a barbecue place?
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, it's don't question it. So I got a really good gyro plate, and I had some leftover gyro meat, and I had some like cheese sauce, and then I think my dad or my mom had like some garlic bread from like their meal.
Okay. A makeshift sandwich.
I woke up in the middle of the night, like just I'm gonna eat something. All right. I grabbed the garlic bread, heated it up, gyro meat, did the cheese sauce over it, 2 pieces of garlic bread. Honestly, I felt like a piece of shit eating it.
Sounds good, dude.
But it is good. It's honestly, if I ever have leftover like gyro meat nowadays, it's like I do that every day, every time now, because it like looking at it disgusted me, because it was pure American just obesity on a plate, and I'm just like, I was judging myself, and I was judging myself while I was eating it, and I'm just like, who gives a shit? It's too good though.
Here's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up. Is a gyro on a technicality a sandwich?
It was a sandwich the way I did it.
Well, like, because like, does the sandwich require 2 pieces of bread? Because technically, a hot dog bun is not 2 pieces of bread. Technically, a hot dog bun is as much a like wrap kind of thing as a gyro pita bread is. So like, it's so, I don't know, what makes a sandwich is fucked up to me. Like, like it's like a question that I don't even. It's almost like when you think too hard about what happens after we die.
Yeah.
You just lay awake at night and it like hurts your brain.
This is the type of questions that you don't want to actually have the answer to, because it will keep you awake at night.
This is what keeps me awake at night is wondering what does make a sandwich a sandwich.
Oh Lord.
Do we want to talk about what is your favorite? I'm not talking about, because we answered this question on like episode 4 or 5. What is best sandwich? What is your favorite though? Like, if you were to boil down your favorite sandwich, like in terms of like going to a restaurant and like ordering a sandwich, not custom making one. What is your favorite?
Like out of like sandwiches that have already been made up, they're like a staple.
Right.
Honestly, I'd have to say a Reuben.
Oh, I love a good Reuben.
Like that's saying I love a solid Reuben. I like to joke with you that you don't like a good Reuben
because I don't like sauerkraut.
Yeah.
Sauerkraut's fucking disgusting, and it's like rotten cabbage.
I like to give you shit for it, but I don't blame you for hating sauerkraut, because I think sauerkraut is definitely an acquired taste.
It's just not my thing.
I can just eat the shit out of it. It's disgusting, but I can eat the shit out of
it. My family loves it. I've never been a fan of sauerkraut. When I make a Reuben, and Reubens too, that's another sort of thing when I think of what makes a sandwich, they're exceptionally easy to make. And I just like the corned beef, the Swiss, and the rye bread, and the Thousand Island dressing. Like, that to me is enough. My answer to that question would probably be a good Cuban.
Okay.
I love a good Cuban. I mentioned this earlier, but a fucking Italian beef, dude. A good Italian beef, is like next level, dipped with some fucking mozzarella and some sport peppers or some jardiniere.
Oh, another solid is a breaded steak sandwich.
Yeah, yeah. Or like a Philly cheesesteak. Like,
oh, come on, man.
Ugh. It's like there's so, that shit to me, when we mention that, like that in my mind, that is a sandwich. But like, in terms of like the kind of weird spin-offs, like I love a good hot dog. What do you like on your hot dog?
Chicago style, son.
You just go full Chicago style?
Okay, so if I'm like actually just eating a regular hot dog half the time, I'm not gonna go the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm doing it myself, it's just mainly, honestly, it's probably just gonna be like a little bit of mustard, a little bit of relish, and then it's honestly about it. But like if I'm going out, yeah, of course I'm gonna get a full Chicago style dog.
Well, the one thing you never put on Chicago dogs, or really any hot dogs, is ketchup.
I don't even use ketchup on anything. No. I hate ketchup.
I put ketchup on my sandwich, but I don't, never on a hot dog. Ketchup does not belong anywhere near a hot dog.
Oh, I gotta tell this story. This shit disgusted me.
Okay.
I was at work recently, and I think I've told you, my buddy, one of my buddies is working overnight, helping us out a little bit, and his ass came in, and he got some pizza from the store, and his ass was looking for ranch, and I'm off battle. I'm like, you nasty bitch. And he's like, oh, I can't find ranch. I'll just grab some ketchup.
Oh, he dipped his pizza in ketchup?
Yes.
Yeah.
I looked at him, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. See, I don't like that shit. The things that I'll dip my pizza in, if I get like a shitty kind of like fast food pizza and like I microwave it or whatever the next day.
I usually like to have this is what I do for like Little Caesars, Domino's.
Right.
Pizza Hut. I try to get their whatever, if they have a garlic sauce, like a buttery garlic sauce, I grab that shit.
Yeah, I like that too. But what I've done in the past, you're gonna hate me for this. I've done 2 things in the past. I have, or really 3 things. I'm gonna shout out 3 things that I've done in the past. So when I was younger and cared less about my health, even less and possibly even less than I care about my health now, when I was younger, I would just dip it in like some mayonnaise.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
Just take a spoonful of like Hellmann's and just dip it. Not do it sparingly. Don't go whole hog, but just add a little bit of a mayonnaise flavor to your pizza.
Fuck, that's not good, Seth.
It was pretty good. I liked it, but I would also put some Italian vinaigrette on there.
Okay.
And dip like my crust in the Italian vinaigrette.
I don't mind that.
That was really good. Here's some pro strats, though. I haven't done this in a long time, but I used to do this every time we would get pizza when I was a kid. I would, and I learned this from my Uncle Joe, I would take the cold pizza and I would cut it into squares, crust and all, and I would mix it into my scrambled eggs when I cook scrambled eggs.
That is a thing people usually do with like cornbread.
Yeah. That's some pro shit though. You take your cold leftover pizza and mix that into your scrambled eggs the next morning. That is some primo shit right there.
Speaking back to like dipping your pizza in like ranch and shit, I hate the idea of dipping it in ranch like a lot less now because I actually do something with ranch.
Because you do that like hot sauce mix thing.
Yeah, I make a little shitty dip with like a hot sauce and ranch, and I dip my pizza rolls in it. Not bad.
I like ranch flavoring. I don't like ranch dressing. I like, I'll take the dry ranch flavoring and put it into like buffalo sauce or whatever, and that's fine.
I respect that.
But anyway, we're getting a little bit off topic.
I know.
What?
Hey, this is the purest form of nerd bourbon. 2 jackasses having a conversation.
So this is just a good, simple episode where we both just kind of had some short, breezy topics, and we're just 2 fucking dumbasses having a good time and talking about stupid shit. That's what nerd bourbon is. And you either like that or you don't. But what makes a sandwich, Todd? I don't think man was truly meant to know. Those are the questions that keep me awake at night. Shit. Do you have any other thoughts before we put a bow on this shitty episode?
Honestly, the only thought I could truly have is Skate 4.
You've been slacking, dude.
I know. It's been so hard for me. A part of me wants to start doing a disclaimer. Like, if I don't do it, I don't do it.
You've been slacking. You gotta step your fucking game up. Next week, I expect a good Skate 4. I'm gonna hold you.
I'll try my best.
I'm gonna hold you to that. I want a good Skate 4 next week, not what you've been doing lately, where you just like throw that shit in at the end. The fans demand a good Skate 4.
What fans?
Exactly. If you're listening to this and you want a good Skate 4, sound off in the comments. # good Skate 4. Anyway, you've been listening to Nerd Bourbon, this fucking garbage show. But if you had a good time listening to us talk about bullshit, throw us a follow or a sub on whatever service you're listening to us on. If you'd like to listen to us on another service that you prefer, let me know so that we can get on there. I want to be on as many services as possible. You can also find us online at Facebook at facebook.com/nerdbourbon. We are at nerdbourbon on Twitter. We're on Twitch, and we're on pretty much everything. Beyond that, the best and only way for us to grow is for you to tell your friends. Spread the word if you liked it. Sub if you want more. Thank you so much for listening. Get fucking dunked on. See you next week. Bye.
See ya.